Welcome to another edition of Client Success Stories, everybody. I am Coach Jackson, and I'm joined here with my client, Craig. Craig is incredible. He crushed the 16-week program and just got newly inducted into the Action Jackson Fitness Hall of Fame. I want to share his story. He lost 21 pounds, 7 inches off of his waist, an incredible 5% body fat, and get this, he did all of that while increasing his strength score by 317 points. Craig, these numbers are unbelievable. You did a wonderful job. Welcome to the program.
Appreciate that. Craig Junda. So the quick intro. Live in New Jersey, 36. Just logistics manager. So I have a desk job, and it's tough to stay in shape. And I hired Action Jackson. Wanted to really kick it into gear and turn my life around on the fitness aspect and health aspect and all that stuff. So that it did worked wonders for me.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about kind of how you got to a point that you wanted to hire somebody or you even needed to lose weight and take your fitness more seriously. You have a desk job, obviously. A lot of people out there, I used to have a desk job. I guess I kind of still do since it's online coaching, but I used to be a consultant for Accenture. I get it. You're sitting at a desk 8, 9, 10 hours a day, sometimes very sedentary. It's hard to get active and even just exercise. And sometimes you do, and you get up out of your desk and then the first thing you do is hurt yourself. But, talk me through how you wound up at a point where you needed to make a change to begin with.
Yeah, so I was always an athlete. I played hockey my whole life in various sports, but hockey was the main one. Played in college and stuff, so I was always in shape, always athletic. Always consistent working out. And then, kind of as I got older, like I said, with the desk job, you're working longer hours. It's like you really got to be dedicated to kind of stay on top of it. And then for me, it got to a point where, I was getting to a weight, and then I was looking in the mirror and seeing the way I was looking, or, going upstairs or even playing hockey. And I started huffing and puffing, not able to do the things that I used to be able to do. Again, especially seeing the mirror, right? It's, or even sitting down, you feel a little blobby and just not really the way you want to feel, especially growing up and always being athletic and fit. So it just kind of got to a point where I was like, all right, this is it. I got to, take action on it and make a change for the better. So
Yeah, I've certainly heard that story from previous clients as well. Athletic in a younger age, sometimes you think this is just going to last forever. And when you're young, you could jump into the gym, do a couple of workouts, you clean up your diet a little bit, and it kind of happens very rapidly. You see some changes. As you get older, change happens a little bit more slowly, or sometimes not at all. And all of a sudden, the things that used to work maybe don't work quite as well. So you get to this point, you're starting to kind of notice some more negative changes in your body. You're not feeling as good. The energy isn't there. You're huffing and puffing, walking up the stairs. You're noticing visually things are different. Was there a low point, or was there some sort of moment where everything just sort of clicked and you said to yourself, I've got to do something to change this? Like, what was that eureka moment like for you, if you had one?
Yeah, like I said, just kind of looking in the mirror. And then I think I went on vacation with my now fiance, and, I would just look at the pictures, and then I would look at how I used to look. And I was like, Jesus, I really got to, kick this into gear, right? Before it gets past the point of no return in a sense. So, because, the further you let it go, the harder it is to get it back, right? So got to stay consistent and motivated across the board. So.
Yeah, you're definitely correct there. There's an old saying, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And you found yourself in a hole, and I'm glad that you had the self-awareness to say, hey, I need to do something about this. So you see some photos. This is kind of a wake-up call for you. I got to make a change. Congratulations, by the way, on the engagement. Before I forget, fantastic. What a just absolute high point in someone's life, getting engaged. Gosh, just amazing. Congratulations on that. But kind of talk to me through, you make the decision, I got to change. Most people, they try to do it on their own. Why did you decide to hire a coach? You could talk about the tonal if you want, but what was your mindset around getting help and assistance with this, as opposed to just doing it on your own, which is what a lot of people try to do?
Yeah. So pretty much, I was doing, I even had the tonal for maybe a year prior, and I'd use it once, twice a week. And here and there, just like upper body stuff, not full body. Couldn't even tell you the last time I did a squat, that type of stuff. So, I was like, all right, I need to kick this into gear. So I started, maybe one of the 3 day a week programs just to kind of get back into stuff. I was researching online. I did hear some of the tonal trainers, did, work on the side. They had their own companies and things like that. And I read great things about, you and Action Jack and fitness. So I decided, I'll take the leap. This is really going to kick it into high gear for me. So I kind of progressed before that, just getting into maybe like 4 day a week programs in the tonal. And I'm like, all right, this is a good like starting block for when I got started with you guys. And, I knew it would, I'd kind of hit the ground running, which it worked out perfect for me in that sense. And, I just needed that extra little motivation to kind of have a structured program, not only from the nutrition side, but the workout side as well. And, that really helps you stay consistent for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And had you ever worked with a coach or a trainer, nutritionist, anything like that ever again? Some people like myself, I mean, you mentioned being an athlete. As a former athlete myself, for me, as soon as I got into, I quit my consulting job at Accenture, decided to get into fitness, didn't know exactly what that looked like. But one of the first things I did was start looking at, I need to hire a business coach. And that was just simply because from the age of 5 to the age of 21, you know, going through Pee Wee baseball to college baseball, I had always had a coach. Not only did I have my main coach, but I also had mentors, instructors, other people that I had paid on the side for hitting instructors, fielding instructors, speed instructors, whatever it might be to help me. So for me, my mind immediately went to coaching. Was that the case for you? Or I guess, why did your mind go to the place of let me find a coach?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done, obviously in hockey, we had like personal trainers, part of the team, or they get hired to kind of come and go. They weren't there consistently, but it definitely helped. And then I did do CrossFit for a little bit, which kind of really helped me get structured in a sense and kind of get on a routine. So I kind of like looked back at how I did that, and that really got me in good shape at that time. And then I kind of let myself go again. So I was like, all right, this is always a good thing for me in the past. At least I have a good sample size to this is really going to help kickstart those results and kind of get me to where I want to be. So,
What reservations or concerns did you have starting this journey? Whether it was, I don't know if I could stick to this. I don't know if I'm too old. I don't know if this can happen for me. Do I have bad genetics? Like whatever the typical ones are that kind of come up for people, what were your specific reservations, concerns that you thought, I don't know, maybe if this is going to work?
yeah, I mean, because like I said, I play hockey, right? So even though it's only, I guess you could say for fun now as a hobby, it's still a very competitive league, and we're playing against guys that played at Ivy League D1 schools and stuff. So it is a good league, and I want to be on top of my game. So from that standpoint, I never really did like a 4 day a week workout thing. I was doing a couple days here and there. I was like, I don't want to be too sore for hockey, so I was kind of, I guess, in terms of reservation, I was like, oh, am I going to be able to stick to a 4 day a week program while also playing, hockey on the side and things like that. So I think me kind of kickstarting it before getting into the program helped me so I wouldn't be as sore. And then once I started that program, it was kind of the way you guys built it was perfect to where it kind of like continued to accelerate through each phase. So I never felt burnt out and things like that. And then you guys helping monitor the macros and kind of, keeping the energy levels up and things like that. So that helped a lot.
That's fantastic. It's kind of interesting. I remember I was listening to a podcast once with a trainer who worked with a couple of professional hockey players. And it said one in particular had been in the playoffs several years in a row and had performed very poorly in the playoffs, just was not doing the same, keeping his play to the caliber that he did during the regular season. And this was obviously a big concern. And this was a contract year for him. And he's saying, gosh, I really have to perform this year in the playoffs. And one of the things they looked at was, at least for him, they had dramatically reduced his activity when they got to the playoffs, basically stopping all workouts. So they made a decision that this year they were going to keep the workouts obviously lighter than they normally would, but still include the activity, the workouts, and see if that changed things. And he had the best playoffs he had ever had, and obviously signed a huge contract, etc. But it's one thing that we see often where, whether it's getting ready for a game or the playoffs or anything else, like could be even something like myself getting ready for a big ski trip or a snowboarding trip. I like to snowboard, where all of a sudden you go, oh man, I better cut out everything so I'm fully rested. But usually if you cut everything out, that's not ideal. That's not going to be the best prep that you can possibly do. You still want to keep some activity. And if you program it correctly, if you're very intentional, of course, strategic and scientific about this, you can make sure that you're adjusting things, providing enough recovery, maybe keeping the volume low enough, or whatever. But there's things you can do to manipulate programming variables so that when you do have those games, you're still going to be able to perform at your best. You're not going to be too fatigued, you're not going to be too tired, and you're going to see actually an increase in performance as opposed to a decrease in performance. And at least from our conversations, it sounded like your performance with your hockey league did improve over time. Is that accurate?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and especially after finishing, the 4 phases of the program, I definitely could tell a difference in speed and kind of stamina and things like that. So, which is amazing to see as kind of a side benefit, to day to day health and day to day life, right? So,
Yeah, that's fantastic because working out, obviously, it's, some of us at least find it fun, but it's challenging, of course. But when you can see the benefits in your day to day, I was on a ski trip 2 weeks ago, snowboarding trip, and I went to Mammoth 3 days in a row of snowboarding. And again, I continued to do leg training even up into that trip, not crazy, pound my legs into the ground training, but still keeping it active. And one of the things I noticed was that my legs stayed pretty fresh during that entire trip. And that was because I had done consistent, regular workouts still leading up to that trip. And my legs were able to handle then the load. So that's something we see across the board. Also, another side benefit, your cardiovascular improves, strength, endurance, all these things. Also, a lot of mental benefits as well, which then can also lead to increased performance. So I'm really excited that you saw an improvement there in your performance on the ice. Now, let's talk about any obstacles that you might have faced, because a lot of times with these journeys, everyone thinks, oh, well, I'm sure it was easy for him, or, well, I have X, Y, and Z problems. I have kids, I have this, I have that, whatever the case might be. What were some of the challenges that maybe you faced? Obviously, you got a demanding job. It's more of a sedentary job. What were some things, whether it's work travel, whether it's, getting out, having dinner with friends or being social? What were some of the challenges that you might have faced along the way, and how did you overcome those?
yeah, so I was just trying to kind of stay consistent, right? Because especially early on in the program when you're kind of cutting certain things out to kind of rebuild your metabolism in a sense, right? So kind of saying no to those things where normally go out with friends during the week or things like that, to trying to kind of stay more dedicated to the workouts. And it wasn't easy at times, right? The workouts are tough and the program's tough to get through, but it's very rewarding at the end, and the results speak for themselves.
So some of the things, possibly cutting out some things in the beginning, a little bit more challenging. Now, what we kind of do, just so people have a good understanding, is we're big on moderation. I was just reading a great book called The Sad Truth About Happiness by, I think his name is Gad Sad. A very interesting book. And one of the chapters about happiness was moderation in all things. And this is stuff you'll read or learn about if you've ever studied Stoic philosophy, for example. They talk about moderation all the time. I'm a huge believer in moderation at this juncture of my life. The older I've gotten, the more I've learned that lesson, moderation in all things. And what the chapter of the book was essentially trying to state was that moderation, whether it being in alcohol, exercise, anything taken to a dramatic extreme, not typically going to be good. But also those things, if you don't have them in your life at all, are also bad. So what we try to preach and teach with our clients is moderation in all things. But in order to get to moderation, here's the key. A lot of people say, okay, well, I'm having 2 drinks a night every night. I just want to cut down to 1. That'll be moderation. That's very hard. That's an uphill battle. That's going to be very difficult for people. Or, I'm eating way too much sugar right now. It's too much. I'm just going to cut down a little bit. Again, very difficult. What's easier is going from having some or even a lot to none, and then finding that balance that you want with intention and with sort of purpose, if you will. So if you're having 5 drinks a week or whatever, going to 0, then saying, okay, how and when do I want to include alcohol into my diet or into my lifestyle, in what amounts, etc. That's going to be a more balanced approach, going from some to 0, then including it in moderation. And that's kind of what we typically have people do, and why, at least for a few weeks, we do what we consider kind of like a reset on a few things so that we can be strategic and intentional on how we want to include it and in what amounts. So you had some difficulties with that. And how did you overcome those? Were there systems? Were there tactics? Was it a mindset trick that you played on yourself? Did you just avoid going out with friends for a few weeks? Like, what did you do to avoid or to overcome those obstacles? And I guess, are those things still challenging at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of made the mindset shift to, like I said, and going back, hiring, Action Jackson and getting a trainer involved. It kind of helped me be more structured. So I think that actually helped, because once you kind of made that into a habit of kind of maybe not even avoiding those, but kind of a little more few and far between, right? And kind of just staying focused on staying to, making sure you're doing your workouts for the week, staying in, on top of your nutrition and things like that. Obviously you're going to mix in things here and there, but, for the most part, staying, pretty much always on point. That makes a big difference, and just kind of staying focused, especially like you said, with a demanding job. And sometimes you can be working late hours, and, it's not easy at times to kind of stay consistent with that, but that's, the more you do it, right, the better you're going to get at it. So, no, it's been great from that point of view. So.
That's fantastic. And that's kind of an interesting lesson. I remember hanging out with Tony Horton. I had the honor and the pleasure of being able to work with him quite a bit. I remember hanging out with him, and I'm talking to him, and just his mindset, the way he talked about things. And obviously he's in his 60s, I'm in my 40s, so there's some age differences there. But one of the things that he talked quite a lot about was how he was sort of always dialed in. And I'd say, oh, well, you're going on a ski trip or something, or, you're on vacation, do you ever take a break, or, have a couple of cocktails, or, eat a bunch of sugar and go crazy on birthday cake or something. And he kind of reiterated this moderation mantra about all things in moderation and always kind of staying on point. And I remember thinking about that quite a lot. And again, there's a lot to learn from Tony. He's in his 60s and he's still dialed. I mean, the guy's still got a six pack. His energy level seemed like he's through the roof. He's still very fit and still coaching and training in his mid 60s, which is just incredible. So a lot to learn from the guy. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, what lessons can I learn essentially from this? And at this time in my life, I still would go out and eat like 3 or 4 cupcakes sometimes on the weekend. And Tony's advice was, you should probably stop doing that. And I remember thinking to myself, well, is what I'm doing actually benefiting me, or is it detrimental? And when I looked at it, I said, it feels kind of fun in the moment, but the fun is very fleeting and it ends very quickly. And then I usually kind of don't feel super great afterwards. My stomach hurts a little bit. I can't then typically eat for a few hours, because otherwise I'll get sick. I get this sugar high, and then I get this crash afterwards. Typically that night, my sleep is not as good because I'm so inflamed. I have breathing issues and sleep apnea as it is, so it makes it even worse. My nasal passages just blow up from all that sugar. And what I kind of assessed was just like, this is just not worth it. It's causing me more harm than it is bringing benefit and good to my life. So now if I wanted dessert or whatever, yeah, I'll absolutely have it. But again, I'll have it in moderation. Maybe I'll have 100 to 130 calorie Yasso ice cream bar or something, or I'll get a legendary protein cinnamon, roll or something that's going to have a lot less sugar, or Quest chips or a Quest cookie or something. Or sometimes I'll even have the real thing, but maybe just 1 cupcake instead of 3 or 4. And what I've at least found is, number one, I enjoy it better, but number two, I can maximize the utility and the rewards of it, both in the short and the long term. Short term, I satisfy that desire and that urge. Long term, though, I don't have the regret. I don't have the negative feelings. I don't have all the inflammation, the terrible sleep, the lack of energy. I don't have any of the downside on the long term either. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And that was a very valuable lesson that I learned from him. And I think one that you were kind of getting at there is you talked about just making sure that you're always kind of staying on point. And one of the mantras we teach to our clients is that calories count on weekends, calories count on vacation, calories count all the time. You're always on when it comes to your health and your fitness. It's just to varying degrees. Maybe you're on a vacation. Obviously, you're planning a wedding. Maybe at your wedding, you're only going to be 50% on. That's fine. No problem. You're only 50%. You're going to have some cocktails. You're going to enjoy yourself. You have some cake, whatever, but you're not at a zero. Other days you might be at 100. Great. But again, it's never a zero. Just like when you have kids, you're always a parent. Even if you're on vacation, you get a call, you go into parent mode. When you get married, as you'll obviously soon find out, you're always married. You can go to a bar with your friends. Guess what? You're still married. It's you still have to conduct yourself as a married individual, depending on the rules and the regulations of your relationship. So you never all of a sudden, are free from that bond, if you will. Same with your health and your fitness. It always matters. It always counts, no matter what the situation, no matter what the day of the week, no matter where you're at. You're always on, just to varying degrees. Very good lesson. Now, let's talk about some of the good stuff, of course. Like, what were some of the benefits outside, obviously, you talked about the performance with the ice hockey. What were some of the other benefits outside just the specific metrics? Again, 21 pounds down, 7 inches off the waist, 5% body fat gone, and you increased your strength score by 317 points, which is incredible. But how did that materialize in your life outside of just, being better at hockey?
Yeah. No, just confidence overall, right? I mean, the better you look, the better you feel. Just pretty much mindset too, right? The better you're going to think, a little bit clearer with work and just overall life and things like that. You don't feel like you're going to get winded doing any type of activity. You want to go do fun stuff on the weekends or things like that, family and friends, right? So I think just like I said, overall confidence and, just the way you feel looking in the mirror day to day, how clothes fit. You just feel, way better about yourself and your health and mindset and everything. So it's definitely had
Yeah,
exponential benefits.
that's fantastic. And was there a high moment that comes to mind, at least on the backside of this journey, where it could be you're on a vacation, it could have been, maybe the photos when you got engaged, but like, was there a high moment that you could recall or think of where you go, ah, boy, yes, that was worth it. I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, honestly, I did because obviously we upload the photos and progress stuff and stats, and then I kind of put towards the end of the phase 4 of the program, I put like a before and after of when I started to when I was finishing, and I just the results were mind blowing. So that really that felt great to see that, and it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. They say pictures worth 1,000 words. I got your progress photos up right here that I'm kind of, peeking at myself. And it, it really is incredible, man. I mean, whether it's the front, the side, or the back photo you look at, the start to the end, it is dramatic. It's head turning, eye popping, whatever adjective you want to use, fill in the blank there. But the photos, it's really fantastic. And I think this is a good segue to just really acknowledge all the hard work, the discipline that went into this, the obstacles you had to overcome. Look, it's not easy. I'm going to be the first to tell you that this journey is not easy. Our job is to try to make it as easy as possible on you, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's just we're trying to make it a little bit more manageable so you could just focus on actually doing the stuff, which is hard enough. And you don't have to worry as much about the thinking about things or setting things up yourself. And you have a little bit of extra accountability, motivation, drive, accountability, all those things. But it's still very difficult. And you put in the work, you've earned the success. And I'm really proud of you. I'm really excited for the progress you made. And I'm just very, very happy that you did this, because I just know what fitness has meant to me in my life, what it's done for me, my confidence levels, how I've been able to change and evolve and improve over the years through fitness. I've seen the detriment with my oldest sister, with my mom, and people who didn't prioritize their health and their fitness. And I also have the great honor and pleasure of, when I go back home, working out with my dad, who's 76. 75. I don't want to age him. 75, just celebrated his 75th birthday a few months ago. And we went for a workout, and it was just fantastic. And the guy's 75, still active, not on any medications, and he's still doing very well. And that's because he prioritizes health as fitness. He works out 5 days a week at the gym. He cares about his nutrition. Again, it's not perfect, but he prioritizes it. And like you, he's made the necessary adjustments, and that's led to a very long, happy, healthy, and active life. So thank you for all the effort and everything you put into this, and for trusting us with the most important thing in your life, which is your health. I really do appreciate it. It's an honor, and I just can't thank you enough. So thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything too. You made it, like you said, easier. Just it's hard enough with the workouts and stuff, and staying on track at times when life gets in the way and unexpected things. And you guys were always there to support if I reached out or had a little tweak or neck injury, something like that. How I can kind of work around it. And no, thank you guys for everything as well. It was definitely worth it.
Any last final things you'd like to share with people out there? If they're watching this video and they're saying, Craig's amazing, of course he could do it, but I'm struggling. I need to lose 20 pounds. I want to take a couple inches off my waist. I'd like to reduce my body fat. And heck, I'd really love it if I can get stronger all in the process. What would you say to that person who's out there?
Yeah, I would just say, listen, it's not easy. If it was, everybody would do it, right? But you want to take onus, on your health, fitness, not only now for the rest of your life, and make it a consistent thing. So definitely put in the work, and it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Not easy, but it's worth it. So
thank you very much. I really do appreciate this. And you heard the man. Action is the difference. So take action, and we'll see you in the next one.